Yo, 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 yo. What up, man? It's your boy, UWA Talents, aka Not Your Waddlants. And I'm with your boy, Mr. SFM, Mr. Star Flag Media, Mr. ASMR. Don't tell me what that means, but he say he getting checks.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
got
yeah,
my
yeah,
little homie
yeah.
with aka Talents Jr., aka Little Christopher sliding, doing a bachata slide on y'all. Kalo K.
Welcome everybody to Star Flag Media Gaming. But yeah, all of those things. Go check out my ASMR channel. It finally got monetized. Um, yeah, yeah. So a lot's been going on. How was your week, man?
It was good.
Let's start off the podcast. Yeah, man, it's big week. We both we obviously we had the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2.
Yes.
Last week, for those of you who caught the episode and saw the grainy footage, and we joked about the Switch 2 camera. Well, I'm actually recording on the Switch 2 camera.
Oh, no wonder why you look so blurry.
Yeah, it's almost as bad as last week's picture.
Yeah.
No, actually, it's not that bad. I thought it was gonna be worse quality. This is the official one made by Nintendo. It is 1080p. I think it's 1080p 30 frames per second, but for what we're gonna be using it, which is game chat, this is just an experiment to see, how it would look, and it's not that bad. It's all right. I would say it's a $60 camera. It is what it is. Do not buy the Hori version, the Piranha Plant. It looks cool,
But it hurt
because
I see
the picture quality is absolute dog trash. It's 480p. And it's so cool because it's got like you close the Piranha Plant for the privacy, so it's kind of neat. But it's all aesthetics. Anyway, so we're here, and you've got your Switch 2. You got it, and I got it, and thanks to Cyclone07 who hooked us up with our
friend of the show.
Yeah, our launch day systems. So yeah, anyways, we got it, and you've been playing a lot of Mario Kart World. What's your impressions on that, man?
Mario Kart World is a launch game. So that's what I've been playing a lot of, the most. And I think it's great. Now, if I had to rank them against other Mario Karts,
Yeah.
It's a B plus.
Yeah.
So far.
It's, in my opinion, the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is better.
Yeah. I agree with I'd say that.
Yeah.
8 Deluxe.
And that's hard to top. Obviously, we also have like 10 years worth of DLC and characters, and so Mario Kart World is still in its infancy. I mean, it just launched. Yeah, for what it is, it's good.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it won't get better. I have a feeling that it will get better.
Yeah, the graphics are super nice.
And I'll bring this up later in a future topic.
Yeah. Graphics are nice. The colors really pop, especially if you've got anything above even if you have a 1080p screen, I'm sure that the graphics really pop. The colors are nice. Playing it in handheld mode, it's super crystal clear on the screen. Yeah, I like it. It's a good game. Want to get onto a little bit of what I really been into as far as the system is testing all my Switch 1 games on it and seeing how they run.
Okay.
That's really consumed a lot of my time. So I went back and looked at some of the titles that I played on Switch 1 a long time to see if there was going to be any performance upgrades, right? And I would say about 99% of them look and run way better. The one game, and this is going to sound crazy to a lot of people out there, but the one game that I sunk over 800 hours into was Asphalt Legends. And I popped that in, or I re-downloaded it, and it runs like dog shit on Switch 2.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think it's because that is one of those games that is it was a free-to-play live service game, and it's locked at 30 frames per second, and I think playing it on Switch 2, it's jarring going back to what is they didn't update that at all. It's running on whatever the live service thing is.
Yeah.
But one game that I played that is a downloadable game is called 80s Overdrive, and it's a classic 8-bit 6/16-bit style racing game. And it's pixel art, but holy crap, That looks amazing, and it's running definitely locked in at 60 frames per second, and the colors are just absolutely stunning. I'll try to remember to put a video of that in the have you been playing any of the Switch One titles on your
Yeah,
Switch
so
2?
I had to rebuy Super Smash Brothers because Talents Jr. lost it, right? So I
Alice
got Smash
Jr.
Brothers and let's call them Skills.
Baby talents.
And so
Skills with
now
a V.
I don't know if it's because I haven't played Smash Brothers in a long time
Yeah.
or is it just that, but it does appear to look
Nicer.
better, crisper, uh brighter, like the colors pop a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is because I didn't play it in a long time
Yeah.
or if it's the Switch 2 doing its upgrade thing.
Maybe I haven't been able to. I really haven't tested Smash, but that was one of those games that was already 60 frames before, and I mean it's Nintendo. Nintendo's games tend to be really pretty to look at, no matter what generation they're in. Yeah, maybe I haven't really got into it, and I haven't seen any videos whether or not it was enhanced. But I wouldn't be surprised. Everything that I've
But
seen so far looks beautiful. Anything that I've popped in from the old games, they really are impressive. Those impossible ports like Witcher 3, Doom, Wolfenstein, games that just weren't supposed to run, Borderlands on Switch 1, that the games that weren't really supposed to be on that console that were running at 40 frames, 35 frames,
yeah,
variable, trying to hit 60 but never quite got there. They are all locked in at 60. Another thing that people noticed was if the game had variable dynamic resolution. So
yeah.
in certain areas it would dip to 540p, and then in certain areas it'd be 1080. The Switch 2 just locks it in at 1080 and it does 60 frames. It maxes out whatever they were aiming for on Switch 1.
Okay.
So if you guys have a large library of Switch 1 games out there that you haven't really touched or that you were disappointed at how it originally ran, this is your chance to go back. I
Oh,
mean,
on another note, with the Switch too.
yeah,
Uh do you have Street Fighter 6?
I don't have it. No.
Were you planning on getting it?
I wasn't until maybe about 10 minutes ago.
Okay. So RGT made a video saying that Street Fighter 6 it's watered down or something blah blah blah.
To change the
What?
settings.
Yeah, it turns out that with Street Fighter 6 there's no menu or option to change it to performance mode, which is 120 hertz, or quality
Mhm.
mode, which is 60. So the reason why he found out that his game was looking washed was because his Switch settings was set to 120.
Mhm.
So when he booted up Street Fighter 6, it automatically put it to
High
performance.
performance. Right.
So yeah, so Street Fighter so far seems like it's a game that doesn't give you the option. So if you want to
Maybe
play
it'll
it
be a
in quality,
patch.
yeah, if you want to play it in quality mode, you got to turn the 120 hertz off.
Right. I went under the comments in that video, and what everybody was saying is that the game is locked at 60 frames per second no matter what. But what the performance is on that 120 mode is input lag. Supposedly, you get like better input, like less input lag in the 120 hertz mode, even
Yeah.
though the frames are still technically 60 frames per second. When he turned it off, though, he said that HDR kicked in and like it looked better, like the quality of the picture looked better. I don't know.
He
Honestly,
made a
if
follow-up video. I don't know
it
if you've seen that.
yeah, and honestly, if input lag is gonna be like the determining factor of how you're gonna play the game, and obviously it might make a big difference if you're playing online against other people, then I would say, hey, turn it on. keep 120 on.
I would say Capcom just make a statement saying,
Capcom did make a statement, but not on that. I just read that they officially sanctioned the Switch 2 version as legal for competitive scenes. So it's on par with whatever other versions they are going to use in tournaments
"Oh, okay. So I could go to Evo with that, with the Switch 2 version of Street Fighter 6."
and
And
compete. Yep.
okay,
Yeah, you'll be able to compete using the Switch 2 version. It is on par with everything that they've dropped, which speaks volumes for the port.
Yeah,
Because guess what? Guess what version of the game isn't
Xbox.
up to par? The Series S version, it is not. It's basically just it struggles with the
Yeah,
game. It's probably the poorest port out of all of the. I mean, the PS4 and the Xbox One version of the game run better.
yeah. No, that's dope. 3.5 million sold in the first what 4 days?
So that's what we're gonna get at is a Nintendo Switch 2 sales. It has been the biggest console launch of all time. It beat PlayStation 2, PlayStation 4, it beat the original Switch. It is the largest.
And it beat the PlayStation 5, man.
Oh, yeah. It's the biggest console launch of all time. Here's the Kotaku article 3.5 million units sold in 4 days. Yeah, there's just been a huge amount of stock of this thing. They were saying that a lot of people were able to walk into stores and just buy it. Hell, I found one around in a random kiosk here in Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
like a little kiosk at the mall. There it was, and then just sitting there.
Nintendo said we beating those allegations of hiding stock just to drive up consumer demand.
And I will say this: if you don't think that Sony looked at that, and even Microsoft looked at that, and said, well, maybe if we just start screw it and not care about console leaks or whatever and just start producing this thing 6 months in advance and just stock up on this thing and then have it out on launch, clearly people will buy it. Mm-hmm. People will buy it because when you bought a Switch, like most people went out there and they got a game, they got a Pro controller, and they picked up a camera. And now you're close to $700.
Yeah.
You're close to $700 there. If you picked up a game aside from Mario Kart World.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, another thing, this guy online that I kind of went back and forth with on Facebook, even though you shouldn't feed the trolls, was saying, that this system didn't have a strong launch game, and that this wouldn't last. And to that I said, like, as if Mario Kart. First of all, Mario Kart.
It's one of the best selling games.
It's the top selling. Yeah, it's the top selling Switch. It's the top selling Switch game. Period. Yeah. And then he said, "Oh well, it wasn't like when the Switch 1 dropped. The Legend of Zelda was their launch light." And I'm like, "Yo, Mario Kart is way bigger than Zelda.
Yep.
Like it's way bigger." And then I said, and they're bundling it with the system, but they're not giving it away because it's a $50 markup. They're charging you $50 for Mario Kart World. They're not giving it away. This counts as a sale. Every system that sells with Mario Kart World is selling a copy of Mario Kart World with it.
Yep. And you know what I like? I like that they got to eat their words because all those people saying, "Oh, this is gonna be bad for Nintendo, and they're gonna have a horrible launch." And then now it's the top seller.
They wanted them to fail so bad.
No, it's just early adopters at first. The Wii U was like this as well, and now they just got to eat their words, man.
Right. And I got a little bit more of a breakdown here. So this is an update. Nintendo Switch 2. This is also press releases from Nintendo. Nintendo rarely puts out press releases this fast with actual numbers on it, unless it's gangbusters. And this is gangbusters. So Switch 2 is Nintendo's fastest selling hardware in the United States ever. And worldwide sales are outpacing the original Switch 2-1. They're doubling, and we haven't even hit the holidays yet.
Yeah.
So if people think this is going to slow down before November, before Christmas, you're insane. You're insane. So sales for the first days in the United States alone were 1.1 million. This figure excludes sales from the My Nintendo store. They did the direct sales to people. So it doesn't even count that. The initial projection that they had for total market in the US for week 1 was 1.3 million. They thought they would sell that in a week. They sold that in 4 days. 79% of Switch 2 buyers in the United States also purchased Mario Kart World either physically or through the bundle. So that's an 80% attach rate.
Yep.
Cyberpunk 2077 is the second best-selling physical title. And believe it or not, they managed to sell it again. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is the third best-selling game.
Yep.
And you know, they're selling Tears of the Kingdom at $80.
Yep.
So they're selling a Switch 1 game with the upgraded visuals for $80. That's insane. Like,
started to get it, but I was like, do I have the time to sit through and play Zelda? And I was like, nah, I ain't gonna do it to myself. I ain't gonna do it. I'm gonna wait.
Nintendo in Europe. So Europe has never been Nintendo's strongest territory. They've always been either second or third place. They've never even back when Sega was around, it was always Sega on top in the UK and Europe. And even they had the PC market was bigger in the 80s. Personal home computers. But Japan is Nintendo's playground. It's always been Sony, Sega, or Nintendo, right?
Yep.
Nintendo Switch 2, and now you got to remind you, Japan is a very small nation in comparison, sells 947,000 units in its first 4 days. They sold nearly as much as the United States in Japan. And this also does not include the My Nintendo store.
Yep.
Now, Japan does have an exclusive Japanese language only system that's cheaper than the other two. I think it comes in at $399.
Okay. That's good for them.
Yeah, so they do have that, and I believe that was also to prevent scalpers from just importing Japanese consoles.
Yeah.
So they were guaranteeing Japan was going to have their own stock.
Reason why. Physically.
Yeah. You can import it if you want, if you know how to read Japanese.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first week of sales for. Okay, so here's the breakdown. Nintendo's next gen system has already sold a record of 947,931 units in Japan alone. This sets a new record in Japan, surpassing the first week sales of the original PlayStation 2. Globally, Switch 2 has cleared 3.5 million. And then it goes into the breakdown of hardware sales. Now, here's what's even crazier. So the Switch 2 sold 947,000 units. The second place console in Japan was the PS5. They sold 14,000 units. And for some reason, they still managed to move 16,000 Nintendo Switch units between the Lite, the OLED, and the OG Switch.
Yeah, wow.
So people still went and bought the OG Switch over the PS5 out there. Now, if you had to guess what the Japanese numbers for Xbox were, what do you think they were?
2.
you know that's a horrible number, but it's actually it's pretty bad. They sold 113 Xbox Series X. The digital version sold 57.
Well, shout out to Xbox. There you go.
Only
Who says who don't buy Xbox consoles?
The PS4 sold 24. PS4. All right, so that's the sales breakdown. I know that's the nerdy part for everybody out there, probably a little boring, but you just can't talk about this launch without talking about those numbers, man.
No, that's a fact.
They're enormous. They killed the launch. Yeah, it's more than I thought they were gonna do.
So what do you think is coming for for the holiday?
Oh, we're gonna see the Mario title, I think.
That's what I think. I think if they drop a Mario title for Christmas or holiday, I think they
crush it.
Yeah.
They
home run.
Yeah, and we won't hear about it until September, like on the Nintendo Direct for the fall. Like they'll say like right before. They're not going to talk about it until right before. Yeah. And if it's going to be anything like Odyssey, they're going to crush it. Or even like a sequel to Mario Wonder. That would be again, anything Mario. I think that we're gonna get like a Mario game.
I think a 3D Mario.
We're overdue. We're overdue for a 3D Mario. It's been 8 years, or 8 years. We're overdue. It'd be nice, but it wouldn't shock me if they hit us with a 2D side scroller just for the mainstream market to get us through the holiday, and then in springtime when it's usually slow to hit us with a 3D Mario. That's also not a bad strategy.
Yeah,
it's a 1-2 punch. It's hard for them to miss right now. Whatever they plan on doing. They recently asked Sony in an interview, this is on June 13th, so yesterday, on how they plan to combat Nintendo's connection to younger players, improve third-party support, and with Switch 2's upgraded specs.
They did all that with the Switch.
Yeah, they're asking Sony how they're going to do that, how they're going to compete with that. How is Sony going to compete with that? Hideki Nishino says, we closely monitor our overall gaming industry, including the action of other market participants. Additionally, a catalyst in the market is great for the industry as a whole. As they invigorate excitement, they demand more products. So it's great to have people launching new things. And it's basically giving them the kudos without giving them kudos. So basically, they're trying to say here that the PlayStation brand, this is a direct quote, is offering and resonates with a wide range of players for over 3 decades. And the number of users engaged on our platform continues to grow. So they gave a very PR speak, almost like, we're not going to get Nintendo's audience. They have a very locked in audience, but we've got our own growing audience is what their corporate speak was to the investors. And this was, I think, a very smart move on their end, not to attack during the launch window, especially with how clearly they're killing it right now.
Yeah.
You don't want to go out there and be like, oh, they suck.
Yeah.
You look like a moron.
You gotta, Sony just gotta maybe this awaken the beast, as the Xbox people used to say.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. So in the comments, a couple people were shitting on Sony because it says here they forgot to mention the part where they spent millions upon millions of dollars buying up studios only to shut them down.
Ooh, that's Xbox.
Oh, that's Sony too. And speaking of shutting down, Days Gone Studio is hit with massive layoffs after their live service PlayStation game gets canceled.
There we go.
So another PlayStation studio that they purchased outright was the Days Gone Studio. And they had... And now they just shut down their layoff. And they said now they're working on a new game for the PS5. Well, guess what I have to say about that? That game is never going to see the light of day for PlayStation 5. Because it'll hit. But how long do you think this game is going to take to develop? Give me a minimum amount of time.
It's going to take them 5 years, 5 to 6, 5 to 8, technically.
Yeah, and we're in year 5 of the PS5.
Yep.
You think this game is going to hit PS5?
Oh,
hell no. It'll be on PS6.
You know what's another thing that I did like what Nintendo did, and no one really talking about it? Mario Kart World dropped for the Nintendo Switch 2, not for the Switch 1.
Explain.
Well, when the PS5 and the Series X and Series S came out, all the games were dropping on the previous platform and this one.
Right.
So
kind of like what they're doing with Prime, with Metroid.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a cross generation, is what you're saying.
Yeah. But Mario Kart World dropped for the Switch 2.
You must have a Switch 2 to play this game.
Yes. If they keep that going, they'll be all set. Because a lot of people, I mean, yes, there was a lot of consoles sold last generation, and it's like, yeah, you don't want to alienate that audience. But at the same time, man, listen,
Sony and Microsoft both they relied on the last generation for far too long.
Yeah.
For far too long. In fact, let me tell you, my theory is because Microsoft and Sony both did that, they actually helped Nintendo get a lot of these impossible ports.
Yeah.
Because those games that came out on PS5 and Xbox Series also came out on PS4 and Xbox One. And so a lot of those games, they already had the weaker version available, scaled down for the PS4 and Xbox One. So it was only like, let's just take one more step back. And now we got a working Switch One version. So we got a lot of these third-party games that popped up. Red Dead Redemption. There's these games that you would have never thought would have been on Nintendo because of Sony and Microsoft's reliance on last generation. You're absolutely right. Now, I thought Metroid Prime 4 was going to be their big launch game. Like the big, that if you go back and you remember like my predictions, I always thought it was going to be cross-platform. And it is cross-platform, but it wasn't a launch game.
No.
And I'm glad it wasn't, because Metroid is not that franchise. They're not that big to carry a console launch.
Yeah.
But also Donkey Kong Bonanza is doing things that could never be done with the indestructible environments and stuff like that. Just things that the Switch One couldn't do. Or maybe it could, but it would be scaled back way too much. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's a big the game is exclusive and you can't get it anywhere else. You have to get it on a Switch too.
And they did it good. I think the Donkey Kong title will be a better version of Luigi's Mansion.
Okay. I mean, they're completely different, but I'm guessing you're thinking as like a second main franchise. I don't know.
So no. So here's my thought. Let me elaborate more. So when the GameCube launched, we all expected a Mario title like day
We got
one.
Luigi's Mansion.
We got Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah, that was a big misstep for them.
Yeah, and I still kind of think it's a misstep we don't get a Mario, but
we do though, because Mario Kart has Mario in it.
Yeah, but we've seen the Donkey Kong game and how it plays, and it's like it kind of satiates my hunger for a little bit. Pause.
You mean for a 3D platformer?
For a 3D platforming Mario?
Yeah, I understand. Wow, this really is it me, or did that really get washed out there for a second? Anyway,
that's what in stores.
Get it now. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, Donkey Kong Bonanza looks cool. Honestly, it's the amount of animation that I saw in the character design and like the facial expressions and stuff like that were like, that's really what made me gravitate towards that game. Like I'm dying to get that game. That's a day one purchase for me. And I haven't been excited about a Donkey Kong game since Donkey Kong Country on the SNES. So it's been a long time where I was like, oh, I really want that. But yeah. I think they've got a good lineup right now for the next couple of months, and they still haven't even announced Pikmin. They still haven't announced. Let me tell you what game is going to be gigantic on Switch 2. The next Animal Crossing is going to be ridiculous. Like,
I think second highest selling game, right?
Yeah, it was huge, and remember, it dropped during the pandemic when everybody was home, and Animal Crossing became this huge phenomenon. So if you don't think that people that were playing that game and is still playing that game, when the second one drops for Switch 2, they're gonna be hyped. If they didn't upgrade their Switch before, that's gonna be the next game that makes them go. The new Animal Crossing is out. They're gonna get the. Yeah.
Don't forget about Pokemon has out there.
Yeah, there's. But Game Freak, you know what Game Freak does? They wait until there's 30 million consoles sold. And then they drop Pokemon. They never drop Pokemon at the beginning. They always wait till the end. But that's just... By the way, Game Freak showed off that game that looks like Monster Hunter type Souls game. And all the Pokemon players are like, wait a minute. They can make games that look like that? What are we doing? What are we doing? Yep. Next subject. We're half an hour in. Xbox continues quietly abandoning physical games.
How
Want to hear how so? One of the next games that Microsoft has planned coming out is one of my favorite games from last generation. I picked up the Switch 1 version of this game, and I have it on Steam now. What was that?
Shenmue?
No, that's not a Microsoft game. Anyway, it's the Outer Worlds.
Okay. Outer World 2. Yeah.
Outer Worlds 2 is coming out on everything, right? They haven't announced a Switch 2 version, but we can only assume at this point, seeing Microsoft's track record, how they've been putting it on everything. And now what's Microsoft's new tagline? Remember 2 Xbox showcases ago, it was Day 1 Game Pass, Day 1 Game Pass, Day 1 Game Pass. And they really shoved it down our throats like Game Pass is their future. I don't know if you watched the last Xbox showcase. It's Xbox Anywhere, Xbox Anywhere, Xbox Anywhere. That's what their new tagline is. They're pushing the fact that they're everywhere. Anyway, I digress. So, The Outer Worlds 2 is the latest game that's going to get a physical version on the PS5.
Wow.
If you have the Xbox Series X and you go to your local Walmart and you buy the physical version, you will get a code in the box.
Now, I wonder why is that?
Because digital...
I've been saying this for a while. Why is the physical only going to the PS5 side? Is it because PlayStation gamers buy games?
I think because they looked at the numbers and here's the actual numbers. 9 out of every 10 games sold on Xbox is a digital copy. Their gamers buy their game, but they don't go to the store to get it. Whereas PlayStation gamers still have a considerable market. It's something like 76% of games are digitally sold on PlayStation. There's still a market for physical, but still, if I was an Xbox fan and I'm building a collection because I have an Xbox and I've got my physical collection, or even if you have all the consoles and you want to do it,
you can line it up.
You get your code in a box. We're laughing, but also, by the way, Nintendo's doing the same shit with the game key cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, Capcom just also announced that any physical game key card sold is going to be counted as a digital sale and in their investors meetings. Even though it's a physical cart, they're counting it as a digital sale. It's a sad reality, but all of that to say this, Microsoft has painted the picture for us of their future for the last 3 years. I got you read the comments. We got a lot of shit on this channel in the comments letting us like, oh, it's not going to be third party. Oh, they're not going to abandon physical. Oh, Xbox. I had to post literal clips of their president, Satya Nadella, telling us that they were going to redefine what it means to be an Xbox fan. Yep. I had to post Phil Spencer's own comments telling us how the console war was over, baby.
Yep.
We're going to be on everything. And now, what are you going to say, Xbox fanboys? That they're going to save digital? That digital's not going to go away from Microsoft? Well, the Xbox Rally X, the ROG Ally Xbox Rally X, whatever you guys want to call it.
ROG Xbox
the ROG Xbox Ally X is going to be all digital, obviously.
Yep.
I wanted to, as I move away from this physical thing, anyways, transition. Speaking of the Ally X, transitioning to that, there are rumors, the internal rumors, and take this with a grain of salt because I read this on a 4chan thread that then made it onto Reddit and then leaked its way up to like the main video game mainstream channels. But there is a rumor that Sony is very much trying to find a way so that their games don't run on the ROG Ally Xbox version. You know, the ones that are available on Steam, and then the ones that are also available on Windows.
Yeah, that don't sound real.
It sounds real because Sony doesn't want their stuff on Xbox. But the problem that they're having is finding a stream code that would differentiate the hardware. So they would have to basically go to ROG and say, here's a patch for the game, and you have to implement this into every single one of your Xbox ROG allies.
Yeah.
that blocks the Sony game from playing on there or for you to be able to purchase it. I think it's a moot point on Sony's end. They've already dropped these games on Steam and PC. I think they should just take the L and say, F it, it's available on it, and here, buy the game and just enjoy it. Enjoy it.
All right. So here's my thoughts. I don't think it sound real, but I don't know because you got it on 4chan. But
well, originally, yeah, but it came from
So
reliable sources. That's where they usually start.
So here's my thoughts. If someone during the Activision deal, Sony and Nintendo were privy to Microsoft's future and what they're going to be doing with these games everywhere. So, games everywhere. I believe, and this is my conspiracy. My conspiracy is they are out of the hardware console business, right? And they're not making any more. So that's why they're just putting their games everywhere to be a third party. And I believe that they probably told Sony and Nintendo, because Sony and Nintendo were probably like, no way, you're not about to put your games on my shit and then you still about to double up and still sell your console. And I think they said, no, we're not making consoles anymore. So now we got this Xbox branded ROG Ally. So now I'll take what you said with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
So in the event that,
as everybody should,
in the event that it's true, then yeah. So Microsoft technically said,
would have Sony games on their system.
Yeah, they technically kind of like they omitted the truth, which they like to do, right? But it's an Xbox branded thing. So
ROG Asus is making it. It's not us.
Yeah. So, but technically, I mean, you can hit them with a cease and desist. Yo, I don't want my shit on this Xbox brand thing.
So that's not gonna work. There's no cease and desist, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because Sony licensed these games on the Windows platform, and that's exactly what these platforms are. They're Windows based. This is not a Microsoft specific console. Anyway, but I'll say this just to counter a little bit of, because I already know there's going to be Jason's going to go actually in the comments, but both Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo have always had cross-platform games appearing from other competitors on their systems, all the way back in the 90s even. So like, for example, Panasonic 3DO would make their games on the 3DO first, and then 6 months later they would drop it on PlayStation, and Nintendo 64 would get their version, and they were 3DO games, and they were 3DO branded games on top of that. So they would have the 3DO logo on the PlayStation disc. In the credits, they would say 3DO on them. So they're not above taking that 30% cut. They don't care, as long as they can get their cut. And Apple's the same way, and so is Android and all that.
So why would they care about it being on the Xbox?
So the rumor, because here's the rumor mill, right? And this is where the grain of salt comes in, is because Sony is working on their own handheld, and they are doing something similar where these games are going to be ported onto this handheld, and they don't want to cannibalize their own sales. One thing that we both know about Sony is they are a very Japanese, very old school mentality way of thinking, and they are pretty much like Nintendo in the way that they want to protect their bubble to a certain degree that Microsoft clearly doesn't give a shit about. Microsoft is a whore.
Yeah.
They're just giving it away. They're just giving it away. But whether or not that's true, it sounds like it's 50-50 for me. It sounds like Sony also doesn't want to open the door for them to be looked at watered down. They don't want to water down their brand.
They want to protect
their intellectual property, and I get that. Yeah. Nintendo is the first ones to be like, "You're not getting our shit." They're really the only ones that they refuse to put their stuff on PC, and maybe they're a decade away from that, maybe. But yeah, they're gonna be the last ones if they ever put a game on PC. Like I know they. Jason, calm down. I know that there's been some Mario games on the PC in like the mid-90s. Relax.
Yeah,
Mr. Wikipedia.
it was
Mr.
reading
Wikipedia.
Mario game.
Yeah, actually, Mario Picross
Yeah,
came out on Windows 98.
yeah. So did Zelda.
Yeah, calm down. We know that there's been a 3DO version of Zelda and Mario. Relax. anyway, but yeah, so Xbox quietly abandoning physical games, quietly abandoning they're moving to the all digital future. Game Pass, it's still their future. Game Pass, they're gonna be like Netflix. That's what they're looking at an all profit future. And where do they cut their losses? Well, the only reason that they're still producing any type of hardware is because they don't have to. They still have a large enough audience that buys their hardware where they don't have to cut Nintendo and Sony 30% of the profits on their games.
Okay.
That's literally the only reason that's saving Xbox at this point. And then finally, this one's a little bit frustrating. We talked about this at the beginning. You said you had a counterpoint to it, but here's the article.
I didn't say it was a counter.
Okay, well, let's see what your spin on this is, or your take on it. Better yet. PlayStation says, I'm already laughing at this. Marathon is learning from Concord's mistakes as it doubles down on live service gaming as a strategic pillar of their strategy going forward. Sony will continue chasing the multiplayer golden goose. So here's the article from Kotaku. It says live service. This is Sony here as a quote. We really see that as a great opportunity for us. With that great opportunity are some unique challenges associated. So we've talked about some of these early success like Helldivers 2. We also face some challenges with the release of Concord. I think that some really good work actually went into that title. Some really big effort, but ultimately that title entered into a hyper-competitive segment of the market. I think it was insufficiently differentiated to be able to resonate with players. For Marathon, it's our goal to release a very bold, very innovative, deeply engaging title. It's going to be the first new Bungie title in over a decade. So we're really excited for that release. We're monitoring for it. We're going through the test cycles. We're monitoring closed alpha cycles. And that team just went through some of that feedback. Frankly, it has been varied, but it's very useful. That's why you do these kinds of tests. The constant testing and the constant reevaluation of assumptions to me is just valuable to iterate and constantly improve so that when we launch this game and the launch comes, we're going to give that title the optimal chance of success. They're banking on Marathon.
No, they're fucking not.
They're banking on Marathon.
They're getting ahead of it. They know that it's going to sell bad.
Banking on Marathon. They have no. They are. Chris. When was the last first-party Sony game dropped?
You're saying that they're banking on Marathon, and I'm saying
on this game.
No, it sounds like they're getting ahead of the dumpster fire that's about to happen. That's what that sounds like to me. It sounds like they know it's going to be trash, and they're getting ahead of it. They're letting investors know now that it's a hyper competitive market, and and yeah, it looks like people don't like it, but to me
that read as completely tone deaf. They did not understand why Concord failed. Hyper competitive market is not why Concord failed, because Helldivers 2 launched in a hyper competitive market.
Exactly. That's why
it did well.
They're
not getting ahead of it. They're not. They're saying how great this is going to be, how they're listening to feedback, how the alpha is going great. This is bullshit.
You got to say stuff like that to the investors.
Of course you do, but this is not an investor question or an investor meeting. This is just a random interview.
Public relations, PR talk, nigga.
Listen, Sony Pony.
It's 4 games.
Listen, Sony Pony.
It's 4 games. It's PR.
Listen, Sony Pony, and I'll say this again, and I'll drop a detailed video about it. Sony hasn't put out a good first-party game since 2023. 2023 was 2 years ago. They asked us for 2024. They begged us for a year off and said, we've got games coming. And then they canceled 12 of the 13 games. And here's the 13th game. It's Marathon. The Days Gone game is gone.
They didn't cancel.
That's canceled.
Marathon. It's still dropping.
This is the 13th game. I said 12 of the 13 games got canceled. And this is the 13th game.
No, because Ghost of Yotaro still coming out.
That was not the live service game. I said 12 of the last 13 games.
Oh, the
Ghost, and by the way, when is Ghost of Yote coming out? What's the launch date?
Listen.
What's the launch date?
You call me a Sony pony.
You are a Sony pony.
Sony drop
you are a Sony pony, are you not?
I'm speaking to the whole live service thing, and you said that what your statement was Sony is banking on.
Yeah, they are banking.
They're not banking on it. I think they're getting ahead of it because they know it's going to be a dumpster fire. Now, I've never.
How can you not say they're banking on it when they've dropped hundreds of millions of dollars on this?
Because Bungie operates independently.
They've dropped Sony has dropped hundreds of millions of dollars on this game specifically.
All right, find that for me. Show me where.
Oh, let's find out, because the investment is in Bungie. How much did Sony purchase Bungie for?
Bungie operates independently from Sony.
Who funds Bungie?
So again, you could look this up online. You could find out how much of Sony dollars went into Marathon versus Bungie using their own money.
What else has Bungie made?
What was that?
What else has Bungie made,
bro?
In the last decade?
I'm not defending Bungie, bro.
I'm asking you. So, what else has Bungie made ever since Sony purchased them? Nothing. So all of the money that Sony dumped into Bungie has been for Marathon.
Yes, but this isn't Sony controlling what they make and how they make it.
You think that Sony doesn't go in there and tell them what to do?
They operate independently, bro.
Sony literally goes in there and tells them what to do. They do.
Yes,
they do.
You are correct. They told them we need y'all to manage and overview and look at these live service games.
You think Bungie is a third party?
Hold on. So bro, you could see that you could look it up online and you could check what their deal was when they got purchased.
Oh, I know what it was. $318 million.
Yeah, they were bought and they were operating outside of the Sony umbrella. Now, after they did drop a game
that was at the beginning. That was at the beginning.
Yes,
was at the beginning. Sony. So here's the actual.
Now, okay, so now you're saying now I am right.
No, you're wrong, and I will tell you why. I'll tell you why. So at the beginning, what you're talking about is at the beginning when they only purchased 10% of the company for $318 million. Bungie operated independently, but Sony purchased Bungie outright for $3.7 billion, and they no longer worked independently after that. It was all under Sony. Sony. They're no different from Naughty Dog or any other. There's no difference from. What's the difference between Bungie and Naughty Dog?
That's cap, bro. That's cap.
Really?
That's cap.
What's cap? That Bungie doesn't operate under the same conditions that Naughty Dog does?
That is correct.
Yo, you're wildin'. I don't know where you got that idea from.
Listen, my phone. Listen, I don't have a computer in front of me, so I could just multitask. So how about you look it up?
I'm looking it up. It says Sony purchased a 10% stake back for $318 million, and that was when they were operating independently.
What I want you to look up is if Bungie operates in the same way as other PlayStation.
As other who? Of course they do. What do you mean?
I want
Of
you to
course they
Google.
do. How do you not Google? What do you want me to say?
Why
Listen. When a company purchases you, that's the conditions.
Listen. All I'm asking you is to just look it up. Just
So
confirm it.
what?
That's it.
Word
Confirm
it
it.
for me. Word it for me so that I can confirm it. So that because your logic doesn't make any sense for this question. But go on. What? How do you want me to word this where Google is going to give me a definitive answer?
Does Bungie operate in the same way as
Does
other
Bungie operate independently? Because that's what
compared
the
to
word you
other
used.
Sony-owned game studios?
So does Bungie operate the same as other Sony owned studios? Is that a good enough
That's not what I said, but you wrote something else in.
do it again. Does Bungie what?
Does Bungie operate in the same manner as other place?
This is basically the same thing. I said this. So the only word we changed was does Bungie operate the same way versus the same manner? We can do that.
So what did you put in?
The same way. Does Bungie operate
Okay.
the same way as other Sony owned studios?
Okay.
Yeah. It says Bungie is now a part of the PlayStation family, and it remains and will continue to develop and publish its games for Sony consoles. It says creative control and the ability to self-publish is no longer including on platforms outside of PlayStation.
Okay.
They have to develop for Sony.
Marathon was going everywhere, right?
Let's find out. What is Marathon dropping on? I think it's coming on PC.
No, I'm missing something. They were going to drop another game, but it fucked up so bad that Sony, I think they changed the rules of what was going on because they were operating independently. What game was that?
Oh, what was that game? I do know
You
that.
know
But I believe that game was, to be clear, I believe that game was in development before the $3.7 billion acquisition.
Was that Concord?
Oh, I don't think it was. No. Bungie didn't make that.
They were making something. I think it was Concord.
What?
I think it was the fucking old Concord.
Do you think it was that? Was it Concord? Other
The
Bungie
owners...
game before Marathon was being developed. Either way, they've sunk billions into the stupid company. Pathways into Darkness was called. I don't know what that is. A first-person shooter?
We was ragging on this fucking game, yo. They were coming out with it. They came out with a game and
before
it ragged, and then Sony went. That's when their $1 billion, their stock value. How the truth came out about how the company was operating.
Was failing. Yeah. And this is when Sony was like, yo, what's going on?
So that is probably when Sony took complete control.
I agree with that. I'll agree with that. I know that they did have a developed game before Sony got acquisition of them that was going to drop on Series S and X and Steam. It was going to be on everything.
Yeah.
I don't know what that game was, but apparently it was a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
And then I think they laid off like half their staff or some shit like that. Bungie's been a mess for a long freaking time.
I'll concede. The Bungie that I think that is operating how I thought is operating now, that Bungie no longer existed because after they had that fucking game and then the stock was overvalued and they've learned the truth.
Sony was like, whoa, where's our money going?
Yeah.
I think that's what happened. I don't know. We're gonna figure it out, right? Because Marathon is their last big for Bungie. I'm gonna say this: whether Sony is banking on it or not, you know who is banking on it? Bungie. They need Sony to survive. They can survive Marathon failing. Bungie cannot survive Marathon failing. They need this game to perform well.
Yeah, I agree.
If this game flops, which I think right now it's a 60-40 chance.
I think they know it's going to I
tank.
think
I think
it's
it's
not
60-40.
do well. I think they know it's not going to do well, and I think they're quietly letting their shareholders know up front, like we know that it's not.
Listen, we dumped a shit
And
ton of money into it, but
don't expect a
look, I
million
know
gold.
I I'm gonna say this, and because I like to play devil's advocate with you a lot, I agree to the point of them putting on a brave face for fans and for everybody out there. Like, hey, this game is coming out no matter what. We can't shit on it. It's not even out yet.
Yeah,
That I agree with. I will say, you want me to tell you on a morbid level, I'm very curious to see what Marathon is. Like, I want to play it on a very morbid, like, out of curiosity to see what is left of this company that we used to absolutely love. Because let's be real, like Bungie
they
gave
gave us
us,
Halo 2.
they gave me and you and a lot of players out there some of the best gaming memories that we've ever had. Period. I was never a fan of Destiny, but the Halo franchise that they gave us all the way up to ODST, in my opinion, was great. I didn't touch anything after that with when it came to Bungie games, but I have a morbid curiosity to see what Marathon will be like.
Yeah. It won't
I am
be.
curious.
It won't fail like Concord, but
Yeah, it's gonna
I.
be hard to it's gonna be hard to replicate that failure.
It won't be. It won't be. It won't be dead like Concord,
No.
but it'll last longer than To Kill the Justice League. I give it a year. Give it a year to shut
That
it
was
down.
another big flop. I forgot about that one. I
I give
forgot
it a year
about that one.
before it
Yeah, that
shuts
was
down.
bad. That was bad too. I just think Sony needs to cut their losses. They need to shut down a lot of these. Just listen, Bungie's dead. Maybe they're good only in name only. Perhaps they can save the name of Bungie by putting their own developers in the studio. You know what I mean? Instead of just killing them off outright. Maybe
Yeah.
moving some of their developers into the studio and making. Hey, listen, bring back Killzone and
Yeah.
make it and we'll put it in quotes by Bungie. Killzone is now and you're taking one of Sony's dead beloved first person shooters
Yeah, because they make Horizon now.
and you're taking the name and you're bringing it with Bungie and you're associating Halo with Killzone. I think that could work. That
So-
might be like something that people will be like, "Oh, I'm interested in that."
So here's my take. Right now, let's be honest. Now, when it comes to live service games,
Yeah.
and I'm talking to you, Sony. If you are dead set on continuing to make and bring live service games to the market,
Mm-hmm.
there's two types of live service games that you would have to make. Well, there's two types that's out there, but there's only one live service game that you would have to make. So, for example, live service game A, Mario Kart Deluxe.
Jesus, that
Mario
could be
Kart.
huge.
What was that?
That was huge for Nintendo.
That was a continued game, continued online support, and technically you wouldn't call it a live service game, but it
if
was
you had
a live service. It was
if
a
you had
live
Switch
service.
Online, you were getting all the updates for free.
Yes. Grand Theft Auto Online.
Oh yeah, that's huge.
That they never said they were a live service game, but they
Right.
have updates. It was continuously being patched and updated and shipped and DLCs. That's a continuous ongoing live service game.
Right. And
It-
they changed also, I was just thinking this the other day. They changed it. The term really just changed if you really want to think about it. They called them live service games, but a decade ago they were called free to play games
Yeah.
or freemium games. I was like they were still trying to find the term for it.
Yeah.
This is unrelated but almost related. You know a game and I don't want to give any ideas out there, but we already mentioned this game, but that would be a killer live service game would be the Animal Crossing series, where you drop new furniture or new houses or new
Yeah. new
new
design,
residents.
new updates, new
Yeah,
animals.
the new resident, new animals, new clothing line this month, and you drop that as a live service. I don't want to give Nintendo any ideas, but they could do that with their Nintendo Switch Online. It's like, hey, you buy the game for $80, and then if you have Nintendo Switch Online service, we'll give you all these free updates. And if you don't have Nintendo Switch Online, you can purchase the updates for $10
Yeah,
or whatever. Like, that's a genius way of milking those franchises. Nobody, but and you mentioned it already, but nobody's done it better than Rockstar has with GTA 5.
yeah.
Nobody.
So back to the live service, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to make a bad live service game, follow the steps of Call of Duty and Warzone. Halo did a live service.
Yeah,
There's
Infinite.
plenty of bad live service games, and I know you. Yeah, they probably only see it as free DLC, but you
Right.
got to get the cars like GTA, or you could just pay for
I
the
get it.
DLC and and we'll put it in a battle pass, and it's like,
Yeah.
yo, oh,
What's
battle
$10? $10
strategy,
is $10.
that battle pass strategy. No, you got to do it in the way of GTA Online, Mario Kart. Um, there's more.
I'll tell you. I just bought a battle. I just bought a battle pass.
You did.
Yeah. Do you
For
want me to tell you for what?
what? What you buy it for?
For Splitgate.
Oh, you bought it. There you go. But Splitgate is
Yeah.
fun.
Splitgate's a good game.
Splitgate is it's fun.
If you guys out there haven't played it yet, and you enjoy old school Halo, let's say Halo 3. It plays a lot like Halo 3. With portals. It's Halo 3 with portals.
But these maps really have the portals.
They're not quite
Yeah.
there yet.
Yeah, they slimmed it down compared
But it's
to
free. So with the free aspect of it, honestly, it's you got me to, you convinced me finally to play it.
Good game.
And I downloaded it, and then I've played it, and I'm like, you know what? And I'm torn because I don't have a lot of gaming time to play between my job and my channels and all that, and then like the time that I do have for not finding a girlfriend is slim for gaming.
Yeah.
And so I'm torn because I just got a Switch too.
Oh, I let everybody know on COD that's in my COD community. I said, yo, my Switch 2 is coming in a couple days. I will be on Mario Kart World for at least a week. So don't send me no invites. You see me online, it's probably my son. So I'm on Mario Kart. And I'm on the meta. I'm trying to figure out what the meta is. The meta keeps changing. There's hidden stats with carts.
Oh my God, I saw that. And the shortcuts that people are finding out, grinding on walls, grinding on flagpoles, and jumping and skipping. It looks yeah. But the stuff that I've seen is incredible. Like, honestly, I was thinking, it's funny. I was thinking like back in the day when I know, but they are. I seen a dude jump off a flagpole and grind all the way down, pause, and then jump across and skip like a whole section of the map. And I was thinking, like, you know who is dedicated enough to I was like, Chris is dedicated enough to find out these stupid shortcuts and then practice them, and the next time we play, just destroy me and make me never want to play the game again.
That is true. I'm waiting for the ghosts, the time records.
So you can copy.
So I could learn the routes.
That's smart.
But my focus right now is unlocking all the characters and unlocking all the carts. I already learned what carts are the best. The two carts
easy way to unlock, and you know that a lot of these unlocks come through collecting coins. I don't know if you saw.
Right?
Yeah. It's going into free roam and then going onto one of the maps. There's a conveyor belt that drops coins on you.
Yeah.
And it said just leave your character right underneath that and walk away for the next 3 hours, and then it just keeps dropping coins, and you'll collect I think it's like 4,000 coins. You'll unlock everything.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I got to do that.
I'd probably do it right before I go to bed.
So I'll give you a hint though.
Yeah.
So when playing in GP mode, Grand Prix mode,
Yeah.
you're gonna want a lighter character because with all the shit that's going on,
I can't tell you who I like to play as because it's
you want to get you're gonna get
questionable.
hit. You're gonna get hit. You want to get you want to catch up quick. So you need someone
Right.
with great acceleration.
Right.
Now, I played the knockout mode.
Yes.
The knockout mode is fun.
I like
Now,
that idea.
it pissed me off because you got the same Mario Kart bullshit, right?
Right.
But I was using heavier characters. And the heavier characters who got the higher top speed, like, yeah, it's all fun and great when you went first. But if
Once they hit you,
you get hit with the wrong shit, now you back in the pack, and then now you with all the bullshit. You want to be away from the bullshit. So you kind of want to go light and with the GP mode, but you also still kind of want to go a little bit heavy on the knockout mode because you still want to. They're figuring out the meta. I'm happy, and
it's cool. It's a good game. It's a good game.
Yeah,
I like playing as Koopa Troopa when he's dead. I can't say his name,
right.
or else I have to say pause.
A pause.
Yeah, dead Koopa Troopa. That's his official. Yeah. Dry bones.
Grinding on flagpoles was crazy.
Yeah, and I couldn't say I like playing Dry Bones after saying that.
Okay. But yeah, so back to live service, man. If that's live service, do it like that. And this Mario Kart, I give it a B plus. Do I think
it's a good game?
Do I think it'll end at a B plus? No, I think it'll end at an A or an A minus.
I agree.
So far, it's fun. The whole knockout mode, which I've just learned because I played 2 matches before we got over here, and it's a whole different beast. And yeah, it's that will be taking up my time, my attention.
Yeah, and to wrap it up, and we were both talking about before we started.
Before you called me a Sony.
Oh, but you've admitted this so much. You're happy to shit on Xbox every chance you get.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. It makes you happy. It brings joy to your life.
Because I was right. They said only 4 games.
But even right or wrong, it's your passion. And I whatever makes you happy, brother. I'm not here to take away your happiness. I'm just here to balance out the counterpoints for all the Xbox in the audience. Because, hey, if you guys want to know what my standing is, I like Nintendo. I've always liked Nintendo. I've been biased for Nintendo for years, so it is what it is, and it's hard to. Yeah, it's hard not to.
Instead of using your 8K camera, you're going to use the 1080p Nintendo camera.
And it doesn't look that different from what I'm looking at it now. With it only washes out every once in a while. It's not better than the camera that I use, but I will go back to the other camera just because I spent so much damn money on the other camera. I have to use it. It's a superior quality. But either way, I did want to experiment with this, just seeing how, see if it worked, and it works. It's adequate. I wouldn't say it's a great camera. It's not. But for game chat, I think it's more than enough. Things looks fine for game chat. Yeah. What I was gonna say. What the hell were we talking about? I'm drinking.
You were talking about grinding on flagpoles.
No, I wasn't fucking talking about. You were talking about Dry Bones. Oh, damn it! I lost my train of thought. Oh, Digital Foundry. We were talking about Digital Foundry before we started recording. And how you know, you said they were biased because of their bias towards Xbox, which may or may not be true. But I will say this: what they have been, and this is something that I did say, is what they have been is they've been wrong a lot lately. And then I looked a little bit deeper into who Digital Foundry was. Digital Foundry is just you and me. You and me, we got our podcast.
Yep.
And then they have a PC.
Yep.
That can pixel count for them.
Yep.
And then they go through an analysis, and I'm not saying they're not technically sound. They know what they're talking about clearly, on a technical level. Now, with that said, Switch 2, prior to its launch, they showed off Cyberpunk 2077. And Digital Foundry did a deep dive analysis of the trailers and the demos and everything that had to do with Cyberpunk 2077 on the Switch 2. They compared it to the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One version of those games, which we all know, even the PS5 version, launched completely broken.
Yep.
And they didn't quite fix the PS4 and Xbox One. They were screaming that this had the same textures as the PS4, and it's basically just the PS4 version. And then CD Projekt Red announced that this isn't just Cyberpunk 2077, it's the Ultimate Edition, and it comes with all the DLC. The DLC that they claimed couldn't run on PS4 and Xbox One, which perked their ears up because they were like, how is it going to do it if the OG systems is? And it comes down to what NVIDIA provided Nintendo with, and it comes to DLSS.
Yep.
DLSS has ruined Digital Foundry's analysis of everything. Because after... I'm sorry?
They love fake frames.
Well, Digital Foundry loves crapping on fake frames. But here's the thing about DLSS. It makes it incredibly hard for them to judge visuals. Because when they put their PC pixel counter on there, they're looking at a 540p image. The PC picks up on a 540p image. But what it's not accounting for is the AI frames, which upscales it to 1080p. So when you and me, with our naked eyes, look at the system and look at the game, it looks better than it did on PS4 and Xbox One because our naked eyes don't count pixels. It's incapable of doing it. We don't go frame by frame by frame counting every single pixel. Yep. So Cyberpunk 2077 launches on Switch, the Ultimate Edition. In handheld mode, natively, it's running at like 540p. DLSS upscales that. It brings it up to the 1080 mark. There's a quality mode that does 1080, 30 frames per second. And there's a performance mode that makes it 45 or 50 frames per second. Okay. Not quite 60, doesn't quite get there. But then they started looking at textures. Textures have nothing to do with resolution. And they turned out that it's doing things that the Xbox Series S does.
Yeah.
The PS4 can't do. So this game took everything that they did pre-launch, all their analysis and everything, turned it on its head.
Is that too loud?
No, I don't even hear it. Whatever your mic is, it's canceling the background noise.
Okay.
Yeah, I can only hear you when you speak. But yeah, it basically turned all of their pre-analysis on its head. They've had to do 3 videos on Cyberpunk 2077. 3 video updates because every single time they do an update, it changes. So they did the main game and they're like, oh my God, it runs on Xbox Series S. Now, what struggles a little bit on the Switch 2 is the downloadable content. But that turned out to have base PS5 level textures. Yeah. DLSS, of course, then takes those textures and makes it, good to look at or whatever. But here's what it's going to come down to. And AMD just dropped basically an entire AI video card for PCs. That's like $399. Yeah. For $399, it's basically an AI built video card that's going to look as good as whatever else is running natively. Yeah. And that's the future of all video game systems going forward. Because it's cheap to make. And what's the best part is the only people that are going to give a crap about frame rate, pixel count, it's going to be the super nerds. The ones who... It's going to be the super nerds. The main...
Rastering versus frame-generated AI stuff.
You and me and the mainstream that just play games because we like playing games and it just looks good. And, hey, is it going to look good on the monitor that I bought? And is it going to... In our brains, it's going to be like, yeah, I want the best ever. But if it looks the same, do you think that the mainstream gives a shit? I don't think so.
I mean, if I were to buy a PC, I would go all out
Yes,
for
yes.
my stuff to work.
But we're in the minority, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that you and me are in the group where we know what it means to have a 5090 card. We know what it means. You know what I'm saying? Like we know what the top of the line is when it comes to technology.
Yeah.
But there's the mainstream audience who were, and the Switch 1 is basically the poster child of this, right? Like The Witcher 3 sold a crap ton of copies on the Switch. And it's definitely, without a question, the worst version of the game.
Yep.
It's the worst. Hogwarts Legacy sold millions of copies on the Switch. It's 100% the worst version of the game.
Yeah.
My sister has a... Huh?
Is that too loud?
No. My sister has a PS5 and a Switch 1, and she bought Hogwarts Legacy on the Switch. Having a PS5 in the house. And I was like, you understand the difference? And she was like, I don't mind the loading. I can take it with me everywhere I go. And I was like, that's the mainstream audience.
Yeah.
So AI frame generation. If my naked eye cannot tell the difference when I'm looking at it on a split screen, I'm like, oh, so I need a digital foundry counter, frame counter, and a pixel counter to know that, oh, it's 540p upscaled to 4K or whatever.
Yeah.
I honestly, I'm happy with I'm happy with the Switch 2, knowing what it is, knowing that I'm going to buy a little case for this bad boy, and I'm going to take it with me when I'm out there on the road and doing my job, because I'm on the road so much more now. And I never played my Switch 1 too much in handheld mode unless I traveled. But now, this thing, even if it was just a PS4, which is not, I think it's closer to a Series S. I'm very happy with that, and I'm happy with the fact that I'm gonna get those first party Nintendo games on there. Yeah, and that's unmatched quality. I'm happy with it. Yeah, bro. Yeah.
I'm happy with mine.
It's one of the few system console launches that, listen, the Switch 1, I was just as happy with my OG Switch. I gave it its 8-year run. I gave it its Zelda makeover. This is my OG Switch. I gave it its Zelda makeover. I love my Nintendo systems. They saved the video game industry in the 80s, and yeah, they'll never go wrong in my book. There's nothing that's going to be a good old-fashioned Nintendo game. My next big game, hopefully that'll be coming out, will be Donkey Kong Bonanza, and believe it or not, I am looking forward to that Sonic, Sega's racing game. It looks like Sega is making this their Smash Bros. With all of the characters that are going to be on it.
Yeah.
Anything you wanna end with?
They're gonna make it a good version of a live service game, or what we assume.
Listen, you remember PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale when Sony tried their hand at Smash Bros?
Yeah.
In my opinion, Sega is the only other company that could probably do a good Smash Bros clone. They have the franchises, and I believe they have the connections to draw in third parties. I would be so happy if Sega dropped some sort of a Smash Brothers clone with Sonic, Toe Jam and Earl, all the Sega characters. You're talking about Shenmue. You're talking about all the franchises, Strider, all the franchises. Bring them in.
Yeah.
It'd be cool. It'd be so cool. Shinobi.
It would be
Streets of Rage. Are you kidding me?
It'd be interesting.
Are you kidding me, Sega? Hey, Sega, yeah. That was free. You can have it. I won't sue. I'll buy it. $60, $70, $80. Sega's All-Star Brawl. Anyway, anything you wanna finish off with, or mini talents or anything like that before we bounce?
I just want to say, hey man, if you don't have a Nintendo Switch 2, go out and get one.
Yes.
Also,
I have not regretted my purchase thus far, and even though it's only been the launch system, but I'm excited for what's coming.
yeah, so far so good. Everything's good.
I want to thank you guys for joining us here at Star Flag Media Gaming. Listen, man, we have dropped a lot of views, but for those dozens of you who are still with us, we want to thank you guys, man. Leave a comment, hit the like button. You don't have to share, but it will help. If you don't like it, hit that dislike button too. Any kind of interaction to get us back into the algorithm will be more than thankful. There's 3,500 subscribers. Anything will help at this point.
Yes.
Check out. Yeah, what was that?
Thank you, guys.
Like, comment, subscribe. We just want to kind of just get back on our rhythm. I know we were gone for a couple of months, but yeah. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. What's your favorite Switch 2 game? If you don't have a Switch 2, are you planning on picking one up? I'll drop a community survey later on and see if there's anybody still engaging in the channel. As always, we just want to thank you guys for being here, and we will catch you guys in the next video. Also, let me know what you guys think about the Switch 2 camera in the comments. Is it better than the camera I was using previously? Let me know.
It was
And
eight.
we'll catch you guys next time.